You know, the greatest strategic failure in marketing is something called the selection illusion. It's this belief that people choose products at the moment they search. But here's the thing, that ignores a huge neurological fact. The winner is actually decided months, maybe even years earlier. It's decided by the brand that owns the trigger. We're gonna dive deep into this because what we're about to unpack isn't just another tactic. Nope, it's a fundamental shift in how you build a brand that actually lasts. We're moving beyond just fighting for the click and into the science of building a memory. So, here's our roadmap. We're going on a little journey, deep into the cognitive science behind brand building. First, we're gonna shatter a really common myth about how people make choices. Then, we'll get into the market shift that made this new way of thinking absolutely essential. After that, we'll build out the neural architecture piece by piece that turns a simple brand into an automatic habit. We'll cover the deep psychology, the practical tools you can actually use, and finally, we'll talk about the incredible, almost unfair advantage this entire strategy creates. Okay, so let's start by dismantling a core belief that honestly governs so much of modern marketing, this idea of rational choice. It's a really dangerous assumption. It leads so many companies down the wrong path, pouring millions of dollars into a battle that was already lost before it even began. We have this image in our heads, right? We imagine our customers are like detectives in some rational jungle, meticulously comparing features, prices, and reviews. We think the battle is won in that moment of consideration. But, well, neuroscience tells a completely different story. Choice, at least as we imagine it, is pretty much a myth. See, the brain is an efficiency expert. It's literally hardwired to avoid the exhausting work of conscious decision-making. It doesn't want to decide, it wants to retrieve an answer that's already stored away. It's a shortcut machine through and through. This right here really shows the gap between what we think is happening and what's actually going on. The selection illusion makes us obsess over winning the search query. You know, A/B testing landing pages, bidding on keywords, all for that final click. But neurologically, by the time someone types best running shoes into a search bar, their brain has already run its own search on an internal map. So the goal isn't to win the search, it's to own the trigger, that moment of need, like my knee hurts after a run, that happens before the search even begins. The real battle is for mental availability, not just being one feature better. So what's really happening then? If customers aren't consciously choosing, what's the mental process that leads them to one brand over another? Well, the answer isn't logic, it's memory and association. It's about being so deeply embedded in a person's mind that you become synonymous with the solution itself. I mean, think about it. Do you ask for a facial tissue or do you ask for a Kleenex? Do you search for information or do you Google it? That is not an accident. That is pure design. Let's look at the market event that brought this into sharp focus for everyone. You know, every major strategic shift has a catalyst, and for mental availability, that catalyst was a moment when the old marketing playbook just stopped working. It buckled under its own weight, really, and forced everyone to find a new, more sustainable approach to growth. Welcome to the CAC-Pocalypse. For about a decade, marketing felt pretty simple, right? You just buy the keyword. If someone searched best CRM, you just had to outbid your competitors for that top spot. This was the golden age of intent. But then the costs just skyrocketed. Bidding on those high-intent keywords became a financial black hole, a total arms race with diminishing returns. It became painfully clear that paying to capture intent at the very last second was a losing game, because the buyer's mind was often already made up before they even saw the ad. This slide just illustrates that paradigm shift perfectly. We move from chasing these fleeting metrics like click-through rate to building a much more durable asset, top-of-mind awareness, or what the experts call unprompted salience. The goal shifted from just buying a word to owning an entire context. Brands couldn't just be tools that appeared when you called on them. They needed to become intrinsically linked to the real-world triggers in a customer's life. That 9 a.m. team meeting, the chaotic project launch, the end-of-quarter report. And this is the ultimate goal of mental availability. It's about creating an association that's so strong, so automatic, that the mere thought of using a competitor feels foreign, unnatural, like an alien intrusion into a familiar routine. You're not just a preference anymore, you're a reflex. You're basically building a neural monopoly. But how do you actually construct something that powerful in someone's mind? All right, so we've covered the what and the why. Now, let's get to the how. This is the technical engine, the actual blueprint for systematically installing a brand into the associative memory of your market. This is where all that theory becomes practice. The core mechanism here is called the Associative Knowledge Graph, and I want you to think of it like an architecture. You're not just creating an ad or a piece of content, you are deliberately engineering a structure inside the consumer's mind. It's a mental map that creates a superhighway between a very specific situation and your brand, and it's built with 3 distinct interlocking layers. So here's how you build it, layer by layer. First up is trigger identification. This requires some deep empathy. You have to map the user's life using the 7 W's: who, what, when, where, why, with whom, and while doing what. This helps you find those precise moments of need. Let's say you sell project management software. A trigger isn't needing to be organized. No. It's Monday at 9 a.m. when the team asks, "What are we working on?" It's specific and visceral. Second, you have the link architecture. This is the creative challenge. How do you fuse your brand to that trigger in a memorable way? You make that chaotic Monday morning meeting the hero of your ad. And third, you have the frequency mesh. This is all about reinforcement through smart automated repetition, strengthening that connection until it becomes an unconscious, well-trodden neural path. This whole process, by the way, is called situational imprinting. So just how fast is this connection? Well, the target is 200 milliseconds for unprompted brand recall. When that trigger happens, that user feels that Monday morning chaos, your brand should pop into their mind in less than a quarter of a second. That is faster than conscious thought. It's a cognitive reflex. And that speed, that is the measure of a strong mental link. If you achieve that, your brand is no longer an external product. You've become part of their internal cognitive furniture. And this is the strategic outcome. You're not just a vendor anymore. You're building a neural moat around your customers. So when a competitor shows up with a shiny new feature or a lower price, they're not seen as a viable alternative. They're a stranger at a family dinner. They don't have the context, they don't share the memories, they just don't belong. That is the incredible defensive power of a well-built associative knowledge graph. Okay, so we have the blueprint, but why is it so devastatingly effective? To understand that, we need to go one level deeper. We've got to look at the cognitive shortcuts, the heuristics, that our brains use every single day just to navigate the world. This is the psychological backdoor that makes it all work. This entire system is built on a fundamental law of human psychology called the availability heuristic. It's a simple but incredibly powerful mental shortcut. If something is easy for our brains to remember, we automatically assume it's more important, more common, and more true. It's why we instinctively overestimate the probability of shark attacks, because they're so vivid and easy to recall from movies, even though they're super rare. We are wired for the path of least cognitive resistance, and mental availability hacks the system directly by making your brand the easiest thing to recall in that moment of need. And this is a really crucial point. When a situation triggers your brand in someone's mind, you completely bypass the brain's natural skepticism center. You're not an ad trying to persuade them or a salesperson fighting for their attention. You're simply appearing as a pre-existing logical solution that was already there. The brand feels like the customer's own idea. And this process of inception is incredibly powerful because it de-escalates our natural resistance to being sold to. The second psychological mechanism at play is spreading activation. I want you to imagine your brain as a giant interconnected web of nodes. Thinking of morning coffee doesn't just activate that one node, it sends a little ripple of energy to related concepts like energy, kitchen, aroma, or for a lot of us, Starbucks. The goal of mental availability is to build a powerful, direct, 6-lane highway between a common trigger and your brand, so that one reliably activates the other, to make your brand part of that ripple effect. This is the end game. It's simple, yet so profound. Through relentless association, you create a bond so strong that thinking of the situation is thinking of the brand. Think, I need to sign a document electronically, and DocuSign comes to mind. Think, what should we watch tonight? And it's Netflix. For generations, I need to make a copy was synonymous with Xerox. The two become neurologically inseparable. All right, we've covered the theory and the deep psychology. Now let's get practical. This isn't just some abstract concept. It's a discipline with rules that you can learn and apply. So here's the framework you can use to become an architect of memory for your own brand. Here are the 4 steps to mastery. I want to walk through these slowly. First, you have to architect the situational hook. You must stop defining your product by its features and start defining it by the moments it serves. You have to ask, when precisely does my customer feel the pain my product solves? Second, you engineer the mental bridge.
This means all your creative efforts have to feature that trigger as the hero. Show the messy desk, the frustrating meeting, the blank page. Make the problem instantly recognizable so the brain immediately connects it to you. Third, automate your presence. Use data to own the digital and physical spaces where that trigger most often occurs. So if your product helps with morning productivity, your brand should be everywhere online between 8 and 9 a.m. Finally, and this is the most important one, you must measure what matters: unprompted salience. Forget the vanity metrics. The only question is, when people in your category are asked, who comes to mind for X, do they name you first? The percentage of people who do, that's your score. If it's not growing, your bridges aren't strong enough.
So what's the result of all this work? Well, when you successfully build these neural pathways, you create something much more than just a strong brand. You create a truly unfair competitive advantage because you're fundamentally aligning your growth strategy with the way the human brain is already designed to work. This is such a powerful reframe. We often see growth as this straight line, driven by more ad spend or more salespeople. But true, durable growth isn't linear at all. It's learned. Market leadership is the direct result of successfully teaching a market to form an automatic association between a specific need and your brand. You win not by outspending, but by out-teaching. You win by becoming a learned, reflexive habit. And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. The old model was all about pushing people through some rigid, artificial funnel. This new model, grounded in the science of mental availability, is about pulling them toward value. It works because it's a more efficient and natural deal for the human brain. You're no longer just another choice to be made. You become the obvious answer that's been waiting there all along. The question isn't whether your customers will use mental shortcuts to make decisions. They absolutely will. The only question is whether those shortcuts will lead to you.